Quick one. I don't know how long I'll stick on this one, but allegedly the 76ers are willing to wait to the offseason, okay? So, unless the Philadelphia 76ers is blown away at the deadline by a team that significantly improves its current best offer, in other words, the standstill between Simmons and the Sixers will continue past the deadline. There's beliefs that the offers currently available will still be there in the offseason too, but what may not be if a Simmons deal is completed now is a shot at a star like James Harden. Simmons enters this season with 4 years and $147 million on his maximum contract. And we know, I've talked about Sacramento, Atlanta, Charlotte have all given away and said they talked. Okay. And the Sixers, they've continued to engage in trade talk. And we know that it's been told that the Sixers are believed to prefer to wait in order to pursue James Harden or another superstar at the same caliber in this coming offseason, thus want to save Simmons for that potential sign and trade rather than take what's available on the current market. Okay? And the notion of Daryl Morey holding out hope for a Harden reunion should surprise no one who saw them thrive together during those 8 seasons together in Houston. It wasn't a just on the court success that created their bond, though. The perennial playoff appearances, including 2 trips to the Western Conference Finals, didn't hurt. It was the way Morey empowered Harden like never before, hiring a coach in Mike D'Antoni, whose system played so wonderfully to his strengths and building the roster around him throughout. And after Morey's failed attempt to pull it off last summer when a deal that would have sent Simmons to the Rockets was real enough, that the Sixers point guard even started shopping for homes in the Houston area, it makes perfect sense that Morey would want to go down a familiar road. Especially considering the reality that Harden's never played with a big man as dynamic and dominant as Joel Embiid in his entire career. The Rockets moved Harden to the Nets a year ago, deciding between offers from Brooklyn and the Sixers. The Sixers were close to actually getting him. They proposed Ben Simmons, Matthias Thybulle, and 2 first-round picks for James Harden. Okay, with both final offers in hand on the morning of January 13th, 2021, the Rockets owner approached Harden about which destination he preferred, and this choice was his, sort of. It remained unclear whether, the owner was willing to let him go to the Sixers if he had opted for Philadelphia. At the same time, sources says the Rockets also strongly preferred the Nets trade over the Sixers trade, which makes sense. And Morey had also abruptly resigned from the Rockets less than 3 months ago before landing the Sixer jobs 2 weeks after resigning. So there could be, some like beef between them. But again, like I definitely think it's an interesting situation that I think it's weird because yet a year later, sources says, Morey still has some optimism that he can finally find a way to bring James Harden to Philadelphia. More specifically, he believes the 9-time All-Star and 2018 MVP sees the Sixers situation in a positive light. And while it may be counterintuitive, Embiid's MVP caliber play this season has inspired more patience among the Sixers officials to make the right deal than it has pressure to get something done before the deadline. As is the case with most potential free agency orders, there are 2 primary ways the Sixers can bring in Harden in the offseason: signing him with the cap space and negotiating sign and trade with the Nets. However, the Sixers are roughly $20 million over the 23 salary cap with just their fully guaranteed players and filling out the roster. So clearly enough space for Harden would require sending about $61 to $65 million in salary without taking any back, which would be a combination of not Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Tobias Harris. So that being said, I think it's definitely interesting. Okay. And yeah, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Like and subscribe.